Gonna sit back, wait around. I'll show you some of the rigs and some of the little tips and what I'm gonna be doing today. Ready? Come on. Fingers crossed there's gonna be more than one beep shortly. So like I say, I'm actually got leisured baits out here at the moment. Now, you just heard that single beep just as I was closing the intro. Now, that's quite an important beep because I always try and fish my alarms and bite indication as sensitive as I can. So, if, for instance, using the RX alarms, you can see, look how little movement there is there. There is, I mean, a fish barely needs to breathe on it and you're going to get an indication. Now, like I say, I had that one beep, and what I don't like when I'm piking, I like to fish really sensitive, but I never like to get a beep unless it's an actual run. So one step back, one click back on the sensitivity, and you'll see it still looks like it's just as sensitive, but I know that that's probably going to eliminate any wind beeps or any sort of environmental beeps. If I get anything now, that is likely to be a fish. So I think that is one of the key things. It's obviously pike fishing, we're always trying to eliminate the chances of deep hooking and everything. So the bite indication and how your rig's placed out there is paramount. Now, so that's the alarm. Now what I also have is the drop-off indicator on the back. Now you can see I've not actually got this fished directly under the spool. When I fish still waters or waters where there's zero flow, I quite like having a little bit of a drop, because sometimes you will get just this, just a little bit of movement. They don't always tank off and take the bait. And instead of there maybe being a little bit of tip movement, which doesn't register on the alarm, this, if a fish goes near it, I know, and I can walk up and unclip it myself and pick it up. So I always do that when I'm on a still water. I'm still going to get that all-important drop back. I've moved the weight a little bit further back because I'm only fishing very close. So, and in all honesty, this is one of the things I found with these alarms, these drop-offs, sorry. If you're fishing a big enough lead and you're fishing your run rings correctly, you will rarely get a drop back. I can't remember the last time I physically got a drop back. You watch it. But I can't remember the last time it happened. I use a minimum of 5 ounce lead even when I'm fishing down in the margin. That anchors your rig, and when even if a pike swam towards you, it should be doing this. It should be going up and it will clip out. That's how it should work. You're only really going to get a drop back if you're fishing light leads or something random happens out there. But if I was to be fishing a lot further out, I mean, if I'm bait boating a bait out, I'll go up to an 8 ounce lead, and I'll show you that arrangement later, how I do that. But like I say, everything here is so sensitive. If you, for instance, if you're fishing a river, or say the wind's howling, you can always turn the alarm down a notch. You can always, if there's a lot of undertow or flow on a river, just crank the drop off all the way to the top, because sometimes you need to do that. Like I say, on running water, that's very important, because it's never going to hold in that position. It's just going to lift, especially if you start getting little bits of debris collecting on the line. But like I say, in this environment where, I mean, we've got a good chop on the water today, but there doesn't seem to be much tow. The baits are the drop-off's holding perfectly. We've got no problems there at all. So another part of bite indication for me is the way the rod is angled and pointing at the bait. Now, I've left them for the purpose to show you guys exactly what I change. So if you look at my current setup, where the line's entering the water, because it's quite deep, what's happening is you've got the rod tip, but the line's coming off like this. Now what that means is if a fish pulls down, I'm going to get tip movement like this, and there's a potential there for the fish to feel it. With pike, it's probably not quite as important unless they're really pressured, but especially when I'm zander fishing, bang, you can guarantee that's pretty much going to be a drop bite. So like I say, you can see what's going on here. Now what I would actually change, if I look now, I can see the line's going slightly to the left as well. So what I would do, just turn the alarm off, close the bay alarm, slacken the clutch off really well, just in case. Tighten up to it. If a fish comes by now, I'll just hear that clutch singing. And then I'm just going to move this one slightly to the left, only marginally. And now this one is going to come up. Like I say, it's the depth of water which is giving it that bad angle. And now, even though that rod's going to be underwater, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So you now just clip it back on. Like I say, like I prefer. Let the drop off just sit a little bit lower. Obviously using braid here, I've got the 60-pound Elite Pro braid. That's just makes everything more sensitive, and obviously gives for a much more robust setup. And there you go. Now what's going to happen, as soon as the fish picks it up, there should be that movement rather than the tip movement, which is what we're trying to eliminate. It just helps, obviously, makes a much more effective bite indication, and yeah, and it vastly reduces the chance of a pike picking a bait up and dropping it.